Okay, good morning, guys. This is the explanation for the material that I have uploaded on Blackboard. First of all, let's start by for and while for beginners, which is the first part one. I hope that you try to practice and you did not look at the answer before doing your part. In these examples, guys, you should make your scripts for each problem in order to satisfy the question. For example, in problem 1, the question is to print the sine and cosine of a list of angles going from 0 to 180 with an increment of 30 degrees. Now here the hint is to use percentage S. Okay, so percentage S, guys, is very similar to percentage F and percentage D. It has the same function, the same concept, except that this is only used for the characters. Okay, so as you can see here, since I need to print angle, sine, and cosine, I have used percentage S. You can instead here write down angle, sine, and cosine, and this will be printed out like the following. Okay, so this is why you can use percentage S. Now don't forget that for percentage S you should also put here quotations because this is a string of characters. Okay, now this is the solution. Why 4? Because we know the number of iterations. It is between 0 and 180 with an increment of pi over 6. And that's why I have used 4. You can of course use while as I have described here. So you can use while, but instead while you should define a before the loop. Define here increment a by pi over 6, and the condition will be while a is less than pi. You can also do this using a lot of other methods, but this is the simplest one. And here you should use fprintf to print out the answer. So this is how you can satisfy the first question. Sorry, I have switched the question with the answer. So here for the second question, which is problem 2, I should compute the average of 5 random numbers. Now here, guys, you should know that you can have a very different answer because this is a random number. So each time you run Matlab will give you another random numbers. Now here the objective is to write a script that can do the average of 5 random numbers. You should know, guys, that there is a built-in function that does the following. However, this built-in function that is called mean will not be used here because in fact we are practicing for and while. Okay, so I should here compute the average of 5 random numbers, and I should use in the hint, I should use rand. Now what is rand? Rand is a built-in function that will give me m times n matrix between 0 and 1. Like this example, rand 2 5 will give me this matrix. Now the question here is to have a matrix of 5 random numbers, which means I should use rand 1 5 or rand 5 1. Okay, you can try it on your command window, and you can try any function you want on your command. Okay, now how to do the solution of this problem? In fact, I should use 4 because I know the number of iterations. Okay, so here I should first define x as rand 1n, and then I should define sum as equal to 0 because I will be using the sum here. So I have to define it as 0 first, and then I will do my loop for I is equal to 1 till n. What is I here? Basically I is the index of x. And as a hint for you in for loops, you should know that if you are defining an array before a loop and you are using for loop, which means you know the number of iterations, 90% of these loops will be on the index of this array. Okay, so it is always on the index. So as I did here, I have defined x as a vector, which is rand 1n, and then I have used 4. As you can see, and this 4, guys, here is for what? It is basically for the index of x. And then of course I will sum them. Sum is equal to sum plus x of I. I cannot divide here by n, because if you divide here by n inside the for loop, then this means, guys, that you are dividing each term by n, by يعني you are adding x of I and then dividing it by n, and then you are adding x of I and then dividing it by n, and you are dividing by n times. And this is not our case. So this means that I will do the sum, and I advise you not to use sum as I did here, because there is a built-in function called sum. You can use summation, for example, and then here after the end I can divide by n, and this will be x1. In order to verify this, you can of course try mean of x, and mean of x will give me basically the mean of x as one number, because x is what? X is an array. Now if x was a matrix, mean will of course give me the average of column by column. Okay,